Sunshin, a teenage high schooler who hates history lessons, finds himself in a dark room shrouded with corpses, with a dude made of bones in the middle that beckons to him, asking if he's the person who stole his heart. He attempts to escape as he is frightened by the scenery and sees a mirror with a heart in it, which breaks as he is about to touch it. He screams out as he wakes up to realize that it was a dream from when he passed out during history class, although he finds a cut on his hand which he shrugs off. While conversing with the school nurse about his hatred of history and its redundancy, his history teacher, Cho, whom the animator tried too hard to make look sketchy, walks in on them. He informs Sanshin about the buttload of homework left for him in his absence. While at the library, lamenting about the work given to him, Sanshin reminisces about the dream, recalling the name of the skeletal figure he saw as Kente. He tries to find out more about what he has seen, but is distracted by a bright light, which takes him to a starry place filled with pillars where he encounters a strange creature that calls itself the Sukyu-sensei. He tries making inquiries about the dream he had, but it presents him with a row of cards, telling him to select a card. As he is about to pick a card, it informs him that picking a card means he has become a participant in a game where he should ensure that he never loses his card, and makes him swear to protect his card with his life. Like, bro didn't find this disturbing? After he picks a card, Sukyu is amused by the card he picked and fades away, telling him that the card he chose will lead him to his answers. Sanshin wakes up in the library to meet his sketchy-looking history teacher and tells him about his research and encounter with a strange creature. He mentions that he was given a card, after which his sensei's mood immediately switches, and he demands the card given to him, but Sanshin resists doing so and attempts to run away. Sho summons a huge armored man who attacks him to prevent his escape, but he is barely able to evade most of the soldiers' attacks. He falls and picks up the card he had chosen earlier on that fell out of his pocket, while the soldier is about to strike him down, but he is saved by a mysterious, beautiful female armored soldier who tells him to be calm, because she, Shuyu, as she calls herself, is here. Bro thinks she's All Might. Of course, the main character possesses the only female soldier. Shuyu and Jin engage in a fierce battle, and more information concerning the situation at hand is revealed. Shu lets Sanshin know that the game he had entered is a card game that can claim the life of its players, and any harm that befall the generals summoned with the cards affects the spiritual power of the summoners called lords, whittling away at his life. Shuyu is having a hard time in the course of the fight. Although she is a strong historical hero, it's revealed that she is experiencing such because of Sanshin's low spiritual power. The sensei offers Shuyu an option of switching camps and killing off Sanshin, but she refuses the offer and unleashes a huge attack on him by cringingly shouting out the name of the technique, but of course, the attack is blocked by his general. Shuyu tries to hide with Sanshin but is soon found out. Jin proceeds to engage them, and Sanshin launches a fire extinguisher at him to use the smokescreen created by its gas as a guise to escape with Shuyu. They hide for a while, and during this time, Sanshin finds out from Shuyu that the generals are stuck in cards, in a place of reincarnation where they eternally wait for their turn to fight each time they are summoned and are prevented from being reborn to die forever. Shuyu expresses her desire to break the curse, and they both charge into the hallways while trying to figure out an escape route out of the school, but they unfortunately bump into Gin. They are then chased to the rooftop where they become trapped once again. Here, Jin battles with Shuyu, whose movements begin to improve as she and Sanshin progressively become more in sync, but then Shu traps them in a confined space, putting Shuyu at a disadvantage. Jin powers up and pummels Shuyu, weakening her badly. Once more, Shu tries to convince her to fight for him, but she refuses, which infuriates him. He tells Gin to chop off her arm, but Sanshin steps in and offers up his head in her stead. A fair trade, right? He asks that before he dies he would like to know about Kente's heart and the whole situation at hand, and his wish is granted. Shu tells him about the Emperor Kente, who lost his throne and wanted to restore the Kan Dynasty, but was betrayed by one of his advisors, the famous Sukyu-sensei, who took his heart and sealed it away, but the seal had been released by Sanshin in the dream he previously had. At the moment before he is beheaded, Sanshin signals Shuyu, and she distracts both Gin and Shu. She quickly unleashes her powerful attack on them and successfully takes them down. Relieved, Shuyu returns to her card, but Shoshin is soon surprised to find out that a classmate of his, Ryoan, is also a lord participating in the game. Stunned by the fact that Ryoan is a lord, Sanshin stands still as her general, Shusu, charges at him and deflects incoming arrows that were meant for him. They locate the direction of the attacks, but are met by another lord, Hakjin, who interrogates Ryoan in an attempt to find out the location of a southern temple of which she knows. He mocks her for exposing herself just to protect a nobody. Sanshin then orders the archer Saosi to launch another attack at them, but Shusu deflects the attack and escapes with Ryoan and Sanshin into a nearby pool, and they try to get to safety, but Hackjin catches up to them and he summons Teifu, another general. They battle it out and Shusu is injured in the battle. Hackinjin offers Ryuan a chance to team up with him because now everyone wants the pretty girl on their team, so they can revive the Kan Dynasty. Meanwhile, Shusu tries to make a move on Teifu to distract him and escape. Hackjin summons the archer general who releases a rain of arrows on them, but Sanshin is surprisingly able to set up a shield that protects them. Sanshin holds up a force field, protecting them from the rain of arrows, but it rapidly depletes his spiritual power and more arrows are being fired at them. After a while, Teifu prepares to blast them away, knowing that the force field won't hold up against his attack, but Sanshin concocts a plan of attack, which he lets everyone know of, and immediately he drops the shield to execute the plan. They deal some damage to Teifu, who is withdrawn from the fight because of said damage. Hackjin commends them and tries to slip away, but is chased by Shuyu, who the others try to stop because Sanshin has already exhausted most of his spiritual power and almost passed out. Shuyu is ambushed by Hackjin on the rooftop of a building, inflicting serious damage on her, and as a result, Ryoan recommends that they take her to see her grandfather at the Southern Palace, but they are followed by the school nurse, who is an agent of Hackjin and a lord. While passed out, Sanshin finds himself in a dream where he sees the Emperor Kenti impale Shuius' heart with his hands, after which he screams out as he regains his consciousness. Ryoan explains to him that he had passed out from using too much spiritual power, and if it happens again he will die. He asks after Shuyu, who she said is stable for now. He also tries to find out from her the importance of the Southern Palace to Hackjin, to which she replies that there's something at the palace that he needs to revive the Kan Dynasty. Sanshin then tells Ryoan to follow him when he suspects that they are being tailed, and she is more surprised that he can move in such a short time after using so much energy. Back at Emperor Kenti's palace, Hackjin reassures an impatient Kenti that his plan of restoring the Kan Dynasty will soon be fulfilled, as they are about to discover the location of the Southern Palace, wherein lies what they need to actualize their plan, but that he needs to be patient a bit. He tells the Emperor about the hidden power that Sanshin possesses, further explaining that it would be useful to him as the Emperor's time was running out before he died, but the Emperor cuts him short and demands that a sacrifice be brought to him immediately so he can replenish himself, and his request is fulfilled. Meanwhile, as Sanshin and Ryoan try to shake off whoever is tailing them, they run into a dubious Lord Barini at a bridge and they get into a fight. While at it, he soon spots Shuyu's card with the injury on her, and he asks where he can find who inflicted the injuries on her before letting them go out of pity. The school nurse who was tailing them runs into Barini, and they begin to battle while Sanshin and Ryoan hurry towards their destination. As Sanshin and Ko make their way towards the Southern Palace, they notice that they are being followed, so they make constant detours to lose their stalker. Meanwhile, the battle between Barini and another General Khan rages on, but Barini emerges victorious, while the nurse ends up losing her memory of the entire events that occurred. As they walk together, Sanshin and Ryoan proceed to cross a lake while they get to hear the story of Shusa's past and his previous rebellious attitudes towards his previous lords, stating why he changed and the reasons for his loyalty towards Ryun. They finally get to the location of the Southern Palace, and Ryoan lifts the barrier camouflaging the palace. Shusu senses that someone is tailing them and sends an attack towards the suspected direction of their follower, which deals some damage to him as he runs away. He tells Ryoan and Sanshin to go ahead while he hunts down the injured follower and promises to defeat him. He is however ambushed by the enemy, but he still manages to take him down. Unaware of the fact that another of Hackjin's generals, a guy called Zanrutu, tagged along, the situation turns ugly as he is fatally wounded, and Zanrutu also deals some damage to Ryoan, his lord, in the process too. Ryoan remains unconscious as they enter the palace and meet up with her grandfather. He explains to Sanshin that she lost a lot of spiritual energy and that Shusu may not have survived the battle, leading to the loss of her memories when she wakes up, as it usually happens when the generals of the lords are killed. He further breaks the good news of finding a remedy to Shuya's injuries to him. He explains to Soshin that the bond between him and Shuya has been broken and needs to be restored, or else she would be stuck in the card forever. He tells him how to save her and restore the bond, which entails entering the place of reincarnation and making contact with Shuyu. He states that their bond will be tested, and if he fails, he'll be stuck in there forever. Soshin proceeds to the place of reincarnation, where he meets Shuyu, but she doesn't seem to have any cognizance of him. He tries convincing her to come back with him, but in the course of doing so, they encounter the general who had initially put her in that situation. Sashin protects Shuyu from the attacks of the general and she soon regains her memory, quickly defeating the general before they return to the real world where their arrival emits an immense spiritual aura that exposes the location of the palace to Hakkijin. This makes them discover that Soshin possesses a unique ability of having bottomless spiritual energy. While in the palace, they test out the new bond formed between Soshin and Shuyu. Seeing how strong the bond has become and how powerful Shuyu has become, the newly recovered Ryo-un demands that she be given another general and storms off while Soshin tries to talk to her about Shuso. Ryo-un's grandfather shows Soshin what Emperor Kaiti is, then the card containing the general known as the God of War, Kanyu, one of 9 great cards that are rumored to contain immense power. He tells him the reason for not handing the card to Ryo-un is due to the possibility of its power going out of control if not properly controlled. Hakkijin forges ahead in the direction of the palace and attempts to break the seal to get into the palace. He lays siege to the palace alongside 2 other generals but is met by resistance from Ryo-un's grandfather. Hakkijin overpowers her grandfather and makes his way into where Kanyu is being kept but discovers that the card is no longer there. Meanwhile, as her grandfather hands her the card containing Kanyu, he is shot in the heart by an arrow from one of Hakkijin's generals, and this throws her into a fit of rage. As the anger consumes her, Ryo-un unleashes the power of Kanyu and threatens to destroy everything and raise hell. Soshin and Shuyu struggle to stop her, while Hakkijin uses that as an avenue to assess how powerful Kanyu is. However, he ends up losing one of his generals in the process. Soshin is finally able to talk some sense into Ryo-un, who stops Kanyu from causing further destruction and becomes calm, but he takes some damage while trying to protect her from an ambush attack from Saosi the Archer, one of Hakkijin's generals. Saosi is taken down by Kanyu, who has now accepted Ryo-un as his lord. As Saosi pleads for his life, Hakkijin attempts to forcefully seal Kanyu into a card using Yukitsu, another general, but his ploy is cut short by Barini. Much of Kanus' energy had already been sealed into the card, resulting in him assuming a childlike figure. Everyone is shocked by the sudden change in the statue of Kanyu, and he curses at Hakkijin, asking what he did to him. Barini demands that Hakkijin hand over one of his cards, which he has business with, but Hakkijin decides to leave, and before doing so he sets up a barrier sealing them in the palace, while also unleashing Gin, who has now become corrupted by his evil spiritual energy. Barini chases after Hakkijin and Yukitsu, leaving Shuyu to face Gin, but he is trapped by Yukitsu in another dimension. He resorts to summoning a general, Baryu, and he is eventually able to seal Yukitsu away. During the battle between Gin and Shuryu, he expresses his resentment of the fact that he has become a tool of war in the hands of lords of no free will, to which Shuryu responds, telling him that having a good and trustworthy lord trumps that fact, going further to express her belief in Soshin and eventually defeating Gin. The palace soon begins to collapse, so everyone hurriedly finds a way out of the place. With everyone sealed inside, everyone focuses on the tunnel, which is the only available escape route, which is blocked by a huge boulder placed there by Sukyu sensei with a seal on it to prevent anyone from getting in or out. They try several methods in order to break the boulder, but to no avail. Soshin, Ryo-un, and Kanyu attempt to build up enough spiritual energy to break the seal, while Barini, who initially ran off, returns to help them because of some crap about the power of friendship. They are surprised as Gin also joins in to help them, and eventually they open up the boulder while Gin sacrifices himself to hold it open so everyone can pass safely through. While passing through, the tunnel is unexpectedly flooded with water and they find themselves in Sukyu's domain. They meet Sukyu, who tells them to head towards the Southwest Empress's palace, one of the 9 Earth palaces located in Seto in the land of Tenpu. He also states that they should keep their guards up as Hakkijin and his cohorts will also be on the pursuit before fading away. Afterwards, they all gather to decide who will be heading to the Southwest Palace, and eventually everyone agrees to put their trust in Soshin moving forward.